In this video, we'll be looking at using a few and few, a little and little, singular expressions of quantity, and using of in expressions of quantity. Let's begin. A few and few are used with plural count nouns. A little and little are used with non-count nouns. So, a few and a little, with the letter A in there, the article, give a positive idea and indicate that something exists. Few and little, without the article a, give a negative idea and indicate that something is absent. Very few or very little makes the negative stronger and the amount even smaller. Here are some examples. There's little food. So, in this picture, there's little food. That has a negative meaning, which is like saying there's not enough. There are a few kittens. So, with the article a, that means it's a positive idea. Look, there are a few kittens. So, we're just indicating that something exists. Singular expressions of quantity. With a singular count noun, we can use these expressions of quantity, such as one guide dog, each guide dog, and every guide dog. Now, with a plural count noun, we can add of, like this. One of the guide dogs, each one of the guide dogs, or just each of the guide dogs, and every one of the guide dogs. So these expressions have similar meanings, whether they have of or not, but just keep in mind that when we have the expression with of, we need to use the plural count noun, and if there's no of, we use a singular count noun. Here are some examples. One of the guide dogs is not looking at the camera. So here we have one of the, and guide dogs is plural. Each guide dog has a vest and a leash. So here we have each with no of, and guide dog is singular. Expressions of quantity that always include of. So some expressions of quantity always include of, such as 50% of, so any kind of percentage, 3/4 of, any kind of fraction, hundreds, thousands, or millions of, a number of, a great deal of, a lot of, a majority of, and none of. So with all of these expressions, we must include of. Here are some example sentences. 20% of the chicks are green. 1/5 of the chicks are pink. A majority of the chicks are not yellow. None of the chicks are white. Expressions of quantity in which of is optional. So in these expressions of quantity, of is optional. You may use it or you can omit it. So 1, 2, or any number of, each, much, many, most, all, some, several, a few and few, a little and little, hardly any, and almost all. So these expressions can include of, or the of can be omitted. When of is used, it's referring to a specific group versus a general category. And when of is used, the noun must be modified by one of these, either an article, which is a, an, or the, a demonstrative, which is this, that, these, and those, a possessive, such as my, your, his, her, or a pronoun may be used instead of the noun with a modifier. Here are some example sentences. Most of the guide dogs are white. So in this case, when we're using of, we're referring to a specific group versus a general category. So in this case, it refers to the specific group of guide dogs that's in this picture. Most of these guide dogs are white. 2 of them are black. So this is an example of a sentence with a pronoun. So when there's a pronoun, we do not need a or the or demonstrative or possessive. Most guide dogs work for 6 to 7 years. Now in this sentence, we do not have of, so it's referring to guide dogs in general. So guide dogs around the world work for 6 to 7 years. It's not referring to a specific group of guide dogs.